With graphics like that, this guy must work out. Alright, so here's my 1967 CJ5. Got a worn winch still on it. Looks like it definitely needs to be rebuilt. Welding's not the greatest. The back bumper was welded on, it snapped loose. But I'm going to tear it all the way down to the frame. It's got super swampers on it, and they are still have the nubbies on them. So these tires haven't been worn hardly at all. Jeep is in excellent shape. I said those haven't had anywhere. They're super swamper. Hold on. 4 plies. Here's the transmission. Well, where the transmission goes. Seats are still in really good shape. There's not any rips or snags in the seats. Aftermarket stereo. I don't know that this Jeep even had a stereo in it. Probably not in '67. It's got a piece of wood up here for some reason. Looks like it's got an aftermarket tack on it. Hold on. Shh. Comes with a free stick bug. As you can see, the floor pans are in excellent condition. There's a spot down here, but that's actually where they welded in a spot for. That may have been factory. I don't know a whole lot about these, but floor pan's in excellent shape. Gas tank was not installed, and the transmission and transfer case was supposed to be being rebuilt. They sent it to be rebuilt, and the transmission shop kind of hosed them over. So they went and picked it up, and I got the transmission and transfer case in a box, as you see here. It was not installed. Nuts and bolts, parts. There's the pan. It goes over the transmission. Some more gears and stuff. Gas tank. Overall, I mean, other than back here, hold on, which I would expect to be rusted, but it's still in really good shape. That actually looks like they actually reinforced the pan there, so it may not be as excellent as I'm thinking. The back bumper was welded on. This actually busted loose whenever I tried to pull it with a tractor, and you can see where they've had numerous mounts on these things over the years, but the frame is excellent. I didn't hardly see any rust on it. Still got a back seat in it. This was welded. The other side actually came loose when I was towing it home, so they just kind of tack welded it up here to the top of the window. And you can see down in there where they've had multiple mounts. I don't know everything about this, but I doubt very seriously that cross member had that many bolt holes in it from the factory. If it did, I'd be amazed. I know back here this quarter panel does filled with Bondo, because the magnetic towing lights won't hold on, so there's an indication that it's full of Bondo. Otherwise, it's in pretty good shape. The hood, and I've been told this is a small block Chevy. I don't know a whole lot about it. Supposedly, if you hook a battery up to it, this motor will fire. But somebody has gone through it. You can see that they've put in some chrome updates. Looks like it's got a carburetor. It's a newer carburetor on it, so I don't doubt that it's not a pretty good running motor. But I'm going to put a battery on it here in a bit and see if I can't fire it up. It has gone through it. Block's been painted. Water heater actually looks pretty new. That's just rusted from its setting. I don't have any idea about the radiator. And the new radiator hose on it. Distributor cap's been pulled off. Overall, I'm going to get a painless wiring kit for it. I like the weather stripping here. And the windshield is about to pop out, so I'm going to have to redo that. In my opinion, it was the tires are worth more than I paid for it, so just the tires alone are worth the price that I paid for the Jeep. So this is day one. Alright, so here's the end of weekend one. Got the motor out. Once you start digging into it, you find out what you really have. These motor mounts aren't the actual right ones. There was a ton of room between them, and as you can see, the welds weren't exactly perfect either. The motor looked pretty good. I took the intake off. The inside looks beautiful. Wasn't gunked up, so this has been gone through recently. The only problem I ran into was when I pulled the spark plug out of this cylinder right here, it spewed out the antifreeze, which generally isn't a good issue. And this port's gunked up, but considering how much caulk's up here, I bet water was draining down into this. So I don't know if I possibly have a cracked head. Hopefully it's a head issue and not a block. Thresher plate and throwout bearing looked in pretty good position, pretty good shape. Headlights and the front and rear lights are all new. I don't know about the radiator. I'll have to have it boiled and flushed. You can see different spots where they welded stuff on here. This bolt here was actually welded on there to keep the motor mount from moving around. And then when you put a 350 in here, I know you're supposed to make sure that your steering column has enough room to get around your headers. This header was actually rubbing the steering column. You can see where it's rubbed there. So I'm going to have to do something different with that. Let's see. Pulled the motor out. Got the windshield out. This has rust all the way around, but I kind of figured that. It's 50 years old. This board that was screwed in on here was just screwed in because this entire panel was rusted out, and this is where the heater vent goes up through to use for your defrost. So that's in need of repair. I've unhooked everything. I took pictures as I went through to document where everything hooks up. Took everything off. See huge holes where the steering column goes, so I'm sure there's a plate there. I'm not real familiar with Jeep, so I don't know, but I'm learning this as I go. The pan in here was nowhere near as good as I thought. There was a piece of floor mat here that looked like checkered plated steel, but as you can see, this whole pan it's a piece of sheet metal that was screwed down. So the true pan is gone. I think the only thing in this floorboard that's original is probably that little area right there. This back here, once I ripped the carpet out, this has all been replaced. That's new sheet metal. New sheet metal on here. These entire hubs are all new. I'm not going to restore this to original condition, so I'm not extremely worried about the sheet metal on the inside. I'm probably going to weld it in better. It's just tack welded. Blend it in a little better, and I'll probably end up putting some kind of really thick rhino coating on the entire inside is my plan. I'm going to end up taking this off. The headache bar that was built is just tack welded in. They didn't actually weld it in too well, so what I thought originally was just excellent actually needs a lot of work, but I knew that going into it. I was expecting to get one that was absolutely trash with a decent frame and just build it up from there. So considering I've got tires that are brand new, more or less, the tires are worth what I paid for the Jeep. The motor is in excellent shape with the exception of a possible head issue. Even if not, it's got a 4-barrel carburetor that's almost brand new. Water pump was new. Valve covers are new. Intake is brand new. I Been hardly any wear on that intake. This motor has been gone through pretty recently. But looking at the transmission parts, you can tell whoever owned it hot rodded the crap out of it, because the gears are totally gone on the, I believe that's the input shaft. This one doesn't look too bad, but I'm going to need to replace a lot of the transmission parts. Pressure plate, clutch look to be in decent shape. Water pump's new. So it's got some bad issues, but it's got a lot of good to go with it. So this is weekend 1. I will post more as I continue working on it. And my plan next weekend is to pull the entire tub off and get it all the way down to just the axles and the frame. And then I'll have to do some more inspecting on the frame to see what other issues I might have. Being a 67, I believe this was built by Kaiser. Hold on, bub. So I'm not for sure what issues I'm going to run into with it being a Kaiser built machine. You can tell they cut this front cross member out. They put in a new bracket for the front radiator. Took the winch off. Some of this stuff I may end up keeping, just prettying it up and welding it in a lot better than it was originally. So more to come, but that is weekend 1. This guy needs to be a poster child for birth control. If you like that video, hit subscribe.